When Jaina and Jacen Solo first appeared in Timothy Zahn's The Last Command, they were newborns, so essentially blank slates personality-wise. But by the time that Vonda and McIntyre's The Crystal Star appeared, Jaina emerged as the mechanically minded one, and Jacen as the more sensitive one who was attuned to animals. These differences continued through to the Young Jedi Knights books by Kevin J. Anderson and Rebecca Moesta. And Jaina's mechanical abilities were one of the aspects of her character that Elaine Cunningham was most interested in pursuing. Jaina's a lot closer to her father, Han Solo, than she is to her mother, Leia Organa. She has absolutely no interest in the political or diplomatic world, and instead is most at home tinkering with things and flying ships. Han giving Jaina her first ship is a common trope in Star Wars fanfiction, so it's fun to see the actual canon depiction here in The Crystal. The Crystal was first published in issue 5 of Star Wars Gamer in August 2001. Unlike Red Sky Blue Flame, which I had very strong memories of, I don't think I ever read The Crystal, but I was definitely interested in checking it out when I learned that it was the first canon appearance also of Mara Jade's illness. So, a brief summary. After Jaina, her siblings, and her friends graduate from the Jedi Academy, Jaina receives the gift of an old Z-95 headhunter from her father and decides that she's going to pilot it alone to the family's vacation on Mon Calamari. But of course, her ship's maiden voyage is not an easy one. So first, a timeline disclaimer. The Essential Reader's Companion from 2012 places the Crystal after Young Jedi Knights' Crisis at Crystal Reef, but before Vector Prime and the beginning of the Yuzavalt invasion, which would place this story around 24 years after the Battle of Yavin. Crisis at Crystal Reef ends and the Crystal begins with Jaina's graduation from the Jedi Academy. But that doesn't mean that she's a fully fledged Jedi Knight, rather that she wants to further her Jedi training by apprenticing herself to her aunt, Mara Jade. The only weird thing I find with this placement here, and this isn't the Essential Reader's Companion fault, more like Cunningham's fault, is that Crisis at Crystal Reef obviously was set on Mon Calamari, that they went on vacation there. And this story has her graduating and then the family immediately returning to vacation on Mon Calamari again, which is a little strange, but maybe they really like visiting Akbar. So what I think The Crystal does really well is giving us a look into Jaina at that point in time, and specifically setting up her relationship with her aunt as master and apprentice. In Vector Prime, we see that Luke has taken over the apprenticeship of Jacen and Anakin, and Mara is teaching Jaina. But they don't get very many opportunities to teach them as the invasion progresses, because Jaina goes off and is with Rogue Squadron, Mara's illness gets worse, everyone gets sort of sent to different places, and Jaina ends up spending a lot more time with Kype Durrin and other Jedis than she does with her aunt. But I think The Crystal shows us why Jaina would want to be mentored by her aunt in the first place, that she really respects her and looks up to her. But not just that, but that Mara's interests align with Jaina's. Jaina loves ships, and Jaina loves to fly, and we definitely see that in the new Jedi Order series, with Jaina becoming part of Rogue Squadron and then having her own squadron to lead. But Mara has always been a pilot as well, and her identity a lot of times has been wrapped up in the ship that she owns. I also like that Han didn't give Jaina a new top-of-the-model ship, which would be weird for Han. That'd be something that I would see Lando doing, but Han always loves old stuff that he's worked on personally and made better. So I think it was very fitting that he gave Jaina a very old but still workable Z-95 headhunter. I think that also plays into how Jaina's able to succeed so well in Rogue Squadron and Twin Sun Squadron. She may have never had an X-Wing before she joined Rogue Squadron, but a Z-95 Headhunter is essentially the previous model in a way. It's a starfighter, just one person, and in learning how to best pilot her Headhunter, Jaina will be learning things that she can apply to her future piloting career. I mentioned that this is the first appearance of Mara's illness, and I really enjoyed getting those glimpses of that. When we were told that she was sick in Vector Prime, I almost felt like I was missing something, missing how that happened. And I wasn't, it just happened off screen. So this was a nice way to tie into the beginning of the new Jedi Order books, that Mara is visibly ill, but she doesn't want to talk about it or have it affect her life. She's still going to mentor her niece, and she's still going to pass on things that she's learned, and she's not going to let physical ailment affect her in any way. I also like the way that Mara's illness let us see the considerate side of Jaina. I find that sometimes Jaina is overly rash or even rude at times, but I liked how seeing how ill her aunt was made her reconsider bringing up the idea of mentorship, and that it was Mara herself who said, "Nope, I want to teach you, and I'm capable of doing it." And finally, I liked getting to see Jaina flying, Jaina troubleshooting a situation, and Jaina really putting her Force skills to work. As everyone leaves the Yavin system, Jaina sees an X-Wing who hails her, accusing her of theft, and it takes her realization that the pilot is a cyborg, the pilot is not in his right mind, and that she doesn't want to kill him. She wants to disable his craft, but even though he's trying to kill her, that's not what she wants out of this situation. In a similar way to the Unifying Force, where Jason realized that the moment he'd been waiting for was for the Force to use him as a weapon, Jaina realizes that to truly pilot her ship, Jaina's not separate from her ship. Jaina and her ship should work in unity to be the best pilot she could possibly be. My only issue with this is that it seems to not spoil, but almost predate the revelations that Jaina comes to in Vector Prime, where she's able to immerse herself in the Force so fully during Lando's asteroid belt game that she stays in the longest of anyone. That is where I would hesitate to recommend that people read this before Vector Prime. It does set up Mara's illness and Mara training her niece, but it is sort of Jaina coming to similar revelations one after another. I think my biggest issue with the crystal was that I was expecting the cyborg to be an important person from Han Solo's past. And she mentions at the end, "Hey Dad, do you remember this cyborg? He looks like this. He has a really good voice and was possibly employed in this area by these people." And Han's like, And so I went to Wikipedia thinking, oh, is that someone from the Han Solo adventures that I've forgotten about, or the comics or something? And he shows up in Wikipedia as just unidentified cyborg, so I guess not. I guess that we're meant to imply that there's some connection, or Han has some knowledge of him, but it's not actually there. So I felt like that was the weakest part for me, that it's more like this random cyborg shows up and Jaina comes to revelations about how to pilot and how to use the Force, and she disables his craft but doesn't kill him, and contacts the Yavin Force so this man can be taken to safety and maybe helped. But he's just a random guy. There's no greater connection to the Star Wars universe, which it's probably most realistic, because not everyone running around out there has some personal connection to the Solos or the Skywalkers. It's just this happens so frequently in Star Wars that I expected that to be the case. So, in short, the Crystal is a fun look at young Jaina, her first ship, and one of her first attempts to reconcile her role in the Force with her interest in piloting and mechanical things. It has some nice setup for Vector Prime, and I just loved getting to spend time with Jaina at this point in time when she's still young and eager and not fatalistic like she becomes in the later New Jedi Order books. If you're interested in checking it out for yourself, I will put a link to the PDF down in the description box so you too can read The Crystal. So next time I'm going to be reading an ebook novella by Karen Travis that's set both before and after Vector Prime, Boba Fett, A Practical Man.